Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. We have a fantastic mailbag for you today. Sometimes I love to react to your phone calls. Other times I love to go solo and just rant. Well, I thought today would be a great day for you to ask the questions and for me to answer the questions. And if you missed your opportunity to actually ask away, there are 3 ways to do it moving forward. My YouTube community page is one. You can text into the text board at 856-442-9805. And the third option is probably your best bet, and that's Twitter, at Brodes81. Tweet at me, or if I put out a tweet saying, hey, I'm doing a mailbag, comment below. There's a chance to do it there. So, since I'm on the topic of Twitter, I might as well throw out there that, remember, we are in the middle of a giveaway. That's right. You can win a free 76ers hat, and it's so simple to do. Go to my Twitter, once again, at Brodes81, and at the top of my profile, there is a pinned tweet. There's 2 things you need to do to enter. 1, retweet the tweet. 2, follow me. That's it. It's so easy. So you better do it. You would be a fool not to do it. And by the way, we are going to be implementing so many more giveaways throughout the season that you better stay engaged. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so let's dive into the action. I'm super juiced up. First, we are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. Let's start with Mark Shivo of Twitter. Should Seth Curry and Danny Green both start? And it's funny, if you asked me this while all the mayhem was happening, when all the madness was occurring, with Daryl Morey entering the front office, I would have said no. I would have said, I probably would maybe look in another direction. Seth Curry, I'm basing this off of his career. He hasn't been a starter. He has a nice role off the bench, giving you spark, logging in minutes. It's not as if he's just some guy who's barely going to play any time. He would play a significant role and still log in a ton of action. But I'm basing this off of what he has done in the past. He has been a guy to come off the bench. So I probably would have been like, on Seth Curry, maybe he could be a bench piece. And then I looked at Danny Green on the back end of his career, going through some bad spurts last season. He probably would start because one of the two would have started. There's no way you would get away with both of them being on the bench. So if I looked at the scenario and said, hey, maybe you start Danny Green, veteran. He could bring you some defensively. And then you slide someone in that Seth Curry spot, and that's what I would have done. Now, though, I have definitely changed my opinion, hearing from Doc Rivers a lot more, hearing about the practices, seeing the first preseason game, hearing everybody talk in general. I like it. I think this is your best move right now. Could someone blossom into something we didn't anticipate so early in their careers, whether it's Shake Milton or Tyrese Maxey specifically? Yeah, absolutely. Things can change without a doubt. But as we sit here today, I think this is your best starting 5 that you can do. It makes a lot of sense on the floor. Joel Embiid is going to have so much more room to work with. Ben Simmons as well. In the past years, teams didn't respect the perimeter play. They didn't have to. They could swarm the big man. They can make the best players uncomfortable because you're leaving slot wide open. And maybe not slot. Maybe that's a brutal word to use. But guys who are not naturally those 3-point specialists. So it's a lot easier to play your gamble if you know you don't have a lethal weapon taking the shot by the Sixers. Now, things definitely change. Seth Curry, 45% clip from 3. Yeah, Danny Green isn't the best 3-point shooter he's ever been. He's had a better version of himself, but he can definitely still bring it as well. I like it. I'm intrigued by it, and we'll see how it moves forward. Now, specifically Danny Green, I think that there is a tie between him and the leadership role that he is clearly bringing on himself, and the defense. And what I mean by that is, I think you're going to see his defense intensify a bit more. He was always a good defender for what it is. I'm not claiming elite. I'm not claiming Ben Simmons 1 through 5. But for who Danny Green has been throughout his career, he's always been a solid defender. I think that's going to intensify a bit. You saw that in game 1 of the preseason, getting his hands in the cookie jar and hearing about practice habits as well. I think there's something to be said about him bringing it to the next level and how vocal he is about being that leader off the court. It comes into one. It forms and molds into one. When he is taking so much pride in, I'm going to teach these kids how to be professionals. I'm going to teach these kids what to do off the floor, how to stay in the right mindset, how to attack a season properly mentally, what to do when you're not at Camden at the practice facility, how to handle yourself off the court when it comes to working out, when it comes to eating habits, when it comes to anything else involved in making sure you are properly engaged. Danny Green has been very willing to open up to the media and say, this is why I'm here. This is one of the biggest reasons why I'm here. Well, I think he's taking so much pride in that it naturally comes out on his play as well. And I'm super intrigued by that side of his game. You know me. You know how I love the defense. Danny Green's defense is something I am so pumped for because you know what? It's awesome to see someone in his spot, at his part of his career, saying, give me it, baby, slapping the damn court. Now, of course, he didn't do that physically, but that's the message, and that's the vibe that I'm getting from Danny. So that's a great question, Mark. Let's move on to the next one. This is from Shadow Steve. What are your thoughts on how the Sixers stack up against the rest of the East? He continues and says, I know the regular season hasn't even started yet, but on paper, I think they have a fair shot at the top 3 seed. Also, having the 4th or 5th seed would be a nightmare of a first-round matchup because the East is stacked now. Bucks, Heat, Sixers, Celtics, Nets, etc. Okay, so the initial question. What are my thoughts on how the Sixers stack up against the rest of the East? I said this when everything was happening. They don't have a complete NBA title type roster. You don't go from where you were last year, make 2 trades, and then you're automatically fixed. I know Daryl Morey does a hell of a job. I know he's fantastic at what he does. But it's so damn hard to fix an entire franchise in the debacle that they had in one offseason with just a couple of trades. It takes time. You got to get Al Horford's contract off the books. And then once that happens, yes, they had to bring in a Danny Green. They had to bring in guys to fill that void of that move. But now look ahead in the future. You have more money to operate down the road. So you got a lot to do still, even though we are excited as a fan base. I don't think they're landing top 2. I think they're more in that 4 or 5, the range that you don't want to be in. But when I look at the Miami Heat, when I look at the Boston Celtics, when I look at the Sixers, I think those 3 teams are sort of in this range of the same area. And it's very possible that they finish behind the Celtics, finish behind the Heat. Now, can they maybe be 3? If they're 3, yeah, no doubt about it. That would be awesome. I wouldn't say I'd be shocked or stunned, but I still put them behind that 3 seed. That's how I see them at this very moment. The team makes a lot more sense, without a doubt. Now, everyone's talking about the Brooklyn Nets, and we had Jason Fitz on of ESPN. We had him on the Sports Bash on Wednesday's show on the radio, and he was talking about the Nets very highly. Well, look at what's happening in the East. And a lot of talking heads are doing the same. I'm just basing this off of what I saw when Kyrie was in Boston, what happened last year with the 76ers. There's always this team that gets hyped up so much, and they don't live up to expectations. That doesn't mean the Brooklyn Nets are going to stink. It doesn't mean they're going to fall off completely. But I don't know if they're going to be this walk to the NBA Finals like people might think either. Yeah, Kevin Durant is a very special player. I don't know what that means, though. He's coming off of an Achilles injury, and I don't know how those two are together, and I don't know how they work together with some of their other teammates. So there's so many question marks with the Brooklyn Nets. I personally can't just write them in. Now, with that being said, that would give the 76ers maybe even a better opportunity to land higher than that 4th or 5th seed because they might not be a cakewalk in one of the top 2 seeds. And yeah, no doubt about it. I think when you look at the top teams in the East in the range of 1 through 5 and these teams, Bucks, Heat, Nets, Celtics, Sixers, there's not this one team that is automatically, definitely 100% elite and none of the other ones are. They are somewhat all in this same category, but I'm not there yet with this franchise. It takes me a while to be convinced. I wouldn't be the most shocked person in the world, but I do think they're still missing a little bit. I still look at them and say, okay, they're a little raw. They got some younger guys coming off the bench. We're talking about Shake Milton as if he's Lou Will. I would love for him to do that, but I need more. I need to see that actually happen. I need to see it happen consistently. I think they're on the right track. But if you ask me today, how do they stack up against the East? They're in the mix with these teams. You had moves made by Boston. Gordon Hayward not there, although he was battling a lot of injury. He was ultimately not there anyway. And they added Tristan Thompson. But Kemba Walker has an injury that he's kind of recovering from. And is Miami Heat really that good? Or was it more of, look, they were in the bubble. There were no fans. They rode that wave. That was huge to not have fans. Would it be the same if they weren't playing at that spot? As if they were on the road and if they had to go up against some of these teams on the road, would they even have had the opportunity to get to the NBA Finals? They had an awesome ride, an awesome journey. It seemed everything clicked for them. But let's not act as if the circumstances didn't play a role. For all teams involved, you heard Ben Simmons speak. If you didn't properly enter that bubble with the right mindset, you were screwed. The teams that made it far, you could tell the type of approach that they had. The teams that fell off early, yeah, you could tell the approach that they had as well. So the Sixers are in that range. I see them being more in 4 or 5 than 1, 2, 3. Would be stoked to be wrong. Absolutely. Would be stoked. And this question sort of ties with why I feel the way that I do. This is from The Soul Secret Works. In late game situations, how do you see this team working out? I think they're missing that guy. Joel Embiid is awesome. He's phenomenal. He's got a 3-point game that I know people don't like, but he's got a 3-point game. He's got a mid-range game. He's got a back-to-the-basket game. Gets to the free throw line. Hits his free throws as well at an unreal clip. Very versatile. If I'm talking about you need to win a game, there's 6 minutes to go. It's tied 89-89. And you're going back and forth, back and forth. I think at some point, it's just so hard to do as a center. With that position and the way that he plays the game, I don't know if he is going to be able to deliver nonstop and be the dude that you're constantly running action for and giving the ball to, and every single possession, he's going to nail it. You know, you watch guys like Seth Curry, and you watch guys like James Harden, and you watch guys like, who else comes off the top of my head? Kawhi Leonard. In big moments, you know what they're going to do. I don't know if Joel Embiid is at that level, and that's the difference in winning championships and not winning championships. That's the difference in 2 seed or 4 seed when you're in a very high competition. The Eastern Conference is going to be very, very head-to-head and hard. It could be the difference in 2 games, 3 games. I want my guy to be more of a ball handler. That's just reality. A legitimate ball handler can create a shot, can get his own shot, can beat guys off the dribble, can facilitate as well if things collapse on him. Joel Embiid is a very special talent. I'm not trying to knock his skill set at all. I think we can all agree that he's maybe not the best center in the league, but he's in the conversation. Jokic and Jamal Murray, that 2 duo and that 2 players, They went a lot farther than the Sixers have at their young career as well. So I'd have to give the tandem to those two over Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. So I don't know if I can give Embiid the nod yet as the best center in basketball. Late game situations, though, I don't know how it's going to flow. I don't know how it's going to operate. You got a guy in Ben Simmons who's not willing to shoot. You have Seth Curry, Danny Green. Yeah, they're spacing there, but I don't think it's going to be as simple as, well, they're just going to shoot a wide open three if they collapse on Joel Embiid. You're hearing about Seth Curry, what he can do with the ball, some pick plays involved, maybe some dribble handoffs. Is that enough? Maybe here and there. Is that enough consistently, though? I don't think so. I think that's why you ran into trouble with J.J. Redick. How many times can you do the dribble handoff until teams realize, all right, hold on a second, they're going to do a dribble handoff with Joel Embiid and J.J. Redick? So for me, that's where I kind of have that question mark involved. Who is going to be the guy in these late game moments when the half-court sets are more involved, even throughout regular season play? And that could be the difference in where you land at the end of the regular season. All right, why don't we hear a word from my friends at DraftKings? DraftKings has brought their expertise to legal sports betting. It's a legitimate sports book based right here in the U.S., so you can rest assured that your funds are totally secure. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is safe, secure, and reliable. Deposit and withdraw at your convenience. Listen to this deal. It's outrageous. All new users have a chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when signing up. Head to the app right now and sign up using promo code BRODES. Check out all that they have to offer, including player props, live betting, and so much more. If sportsbooks are not yet available in your state, don't forget about the DraftKings Fantasy app, which offers millions of dollars in total prizes every single week. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's go to some noobs question. How big of an impact will Doc Rivers allow Shake Milton to have? Will he be a starter? Will he be the sixth-man option? Will he hinder him on the bench? I think he's going to be your sixth man. It seems that Doc Rivers is committing to building Shake Milton's role into that Lou Will type. And if you look at Doc Rivers' history, he's always had that guy, whether it was Lou Will, whether it was Jamal Crawford. He's always had the ability to rock a sixth man who is capable of playing starter minutes, capable of getting that bucket. And I would love to see Shake Milton elevate his game and give you those step-back jumpers. What he did in that preseason game, had an isolation, had a nice matchup that he loved. He took it hard, stopped instantly, put the brakes on, dribbled through his legs, and gave you a James Harden-ish type step-back move, and it was really tremendous. If he can build this repertoire, not only that, there's been so many times where he blew by defenders with speed and got it to the basket with ease for a nice, easy layup. He notices when he has that mismatch, whether it's a big man on him, whether it's a power forward on him, when he sees something that he could take an opportunity with and he knows that he could take advantage of, he's not afraid. And I think that Doc Rivers has built this comfort level with Shake where he essentially tells him, I don't care if you make mistakes. You're good. You are a great player. Go out there, let the game come to you. Don't overthink, and if you do that, you're going to make awesome plays because you are that talented as a player. And if you do come up with an error, and if you do have a turnover or you force something, so be it. You make so many fantastic plays out there. I don't care. I won't let that impact the way that I view your style of play and what you can do for this team. And I just feel as a player, when you hear words like that, you have so much confidence to go out there because you're not afraid to make that mistake. You're not overthinking. You're not overanalyzing. Just go out there, play the game, and you know the coach has so much faith in you that you go out there, you feel in that comfortable mode, it's going to happen. That's just how it works. You got that swag. You got that attitude. So when I look at Shake Milton, I think the six-man role is exactly what Doc Rivers wants him to be. And that's another reason why when we go back to the first question asked about Seth Curry, Danny Green starting, it almost fits perfectly in that mold. If Shake Milton is going to be your guy, well then yeah, Seth and Danny, for sure. Now, Doc Rivers spoke to the media, and he mentioned that he had a good sense of the bench unit. Knows 4 guys for sure. So when you think about that, Shake Milton, Dwight Howard, automatic. You have Furkan Korkmaz, Mike Scott. Are you going to give Furkan Korkmaz the automatic? Sadly, I think the answer is yes. Would I do that? Hell no. Absolutely not. He'd be in Turkey. His ass would not be in the United States if it was my decision. But do I think Doc Rivers has him as an automatic? Yeah, probably, based off of the spacing. And then you look at Mattise, Thybulle, Maxey. Who's going to fight it out? If it's let's just say, hypothetically, Shake Milton, Dwight Howard, those seem definitely automatic. And let's say it's Furkan Korkmaz and Mike Scott. Those are the 4 guys for sure. Who's going to be fighting for that 5th spot on the bench? Maxey, Mattise, Thybulle. And I'm really leaning towards Maxey. It's very possible that Mattise, Thybulle could be out of this rotation. Now, you're going to see guys play more in regular season games if it's a blowout or, you're playing games in a short amount of time. Do you want to give guys some rest days or whatever the case may be? I'm not saying that means the guy will never play, but if you're going to look at a legitimate rotation, it's very possible Mattise Thybulle, some fault of his own for sure because of his poor play. It's been that bad. Mattise Thybulle has been that bad. I was watching film on Mattise Thybulle, and I saw things that made my eyeballs bleed. Seriously, I swear to God. Not only offensively, which we know he has flaws, but defensively as well. Mattise, if you're not going to do the one thing that you do so well, you're going to be in trouble. Going back to that preseason game against Boston. Here's Jason Tatum going over his own screen. We're talking about the Celtics offensively. He's trying to get a little separation from Mattise Thybulle. There was a screen set. He gets the basketball. This is by the perimeter, by the three-point line, right around the screen area. Mattise Thybulle's going underneath the screen to try and beat him, and what ends up happening? Take a wild guess. It's so dumb. Jason Tatum somewhat hides back behind the screen, gets the ball on a nice pass, and he's got a wide open lane to do whatever he wants or take a three. He took the three, he missed it, but it's such a boneheaded mistake by Mattise Thybulle. Then you fast forward a little bit, he's in the post, and Jason Tatum's backing him up. He's in good position, which is nice to see, but he tries to wrap his hand around and get a steal. What's that do? That gives Jason Tatum leverage, and he goes to the basket hard. He was fouled. It was such a dumb decision by Mattise Thybulle, and he's constantly being so over-aggressive because he's so committed to making these flashy plays and getting his hands on the rock that he overcommits and he tries too hard to get steals. It's getting him in trouble. And there's also film. Welcome to a high level of professional sports. When you realize that one player has the same tendencies, you're going to be able to operate against him at ease and do things that give you an advantage. So when I watch Mattise Thybulle play, I'm pretty pissed off that he's struggling so much defensively with errors on his own, thinking too much about making that explosive play. I think he's obsessed with trying to do it. It's taking him out of his own game. Then you look at the offensive side, and that's not his strongest suit. He's taking it to the rim in dumb moments where, why are you trying to beat that matchup? You think you're going to succeed there and wildly go up? Not only that, you're not squaring your shoulders or anything. I mean, when I say wild, I'm talking wild. He finally gets his own rebound after a wild attempt, and he tries to throw a behind-the-back pass that gets picked off. That's stupid basketball. While on the other hand, Tyrese Maxey, he's got the handles. He's got the nice floater game. He's got an awesome skill set. Seriously, I think Mattise Thybulle is in a bit of trouble. I really do. Dwight Howard, by the way, spoke about what he was saying to Tyrese Maxey, bringing up that veteran leadership quality once again. And he said, look, you can play fast, but not in a hurry. And it's his first action. I'm sure he had some nerves involved. And I understand what he was saying, but he had some nice plays outside of the floater game. How about the vision? How about the Euro step? Nasty with that Euro. that speed, but the explosiveness. Now, you can see in his body he's going to have to bulk up more. He's going to have to build that frame. But I'm super excited for him. I haven't been this excited for a young player because once you get Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, you don't feel that way about the first-round draft picks anymore. You don't feel that way about some of these younger kids because you got the two guys. Well, we had Markelle Fultz, and you wanted Markelle Fultz to eventually be this guard, this combo guard that can play next to Ben Simmons. We know how that ended. Did you land yourself what you wanted in Markelle Fultz and Tyrese Maxey that late in the draft? It's very possible. If you don't see the ceiling on the kid, well then shame on you. I don't think you know much about the sport of basketball. This is from Wesley Stone. How many games into the season should we start seeing the ceiling of this team and our stars play within Doc's system? I think this is an excellent question, and you got to go back and listen to what Daryl Morey said when he first got here in this city. It doesn't happen day one. None of this happens day one. There is so much that needs to occur when it comes to building a team, when it comes to building an organization, when it comes to bringing in an entire new regime. When it comes to the X's and the O's and the strategy, you even heard Paul George say this, and I think that there's a lot to take away from what Paul George said, even though he's a major fraud. He mentioned how you don't really get to practice that much throughout a season, and that is the case. When you are at the professional level, you don't have time to just mix in practices throughout your busy schedule of flying on the road and playing back-to-backs and doing this and that. It's not how it works. So your regular season is your practice, if you will, for postseason play. If you are in one of those positions where you know you're going to make the playoffs, it's just about what seed you're in, and that's where the 76ers are now. Your regular season is your get-right moment, your fix moment where, okay, this is what we're going to use. This is the time to figure out who we are going to be and how we are going to operate in certain situations. We're going to learn a lot about who we are as an identity in these moments. You're playing a 72-game season this year. I think by game 48, late 40s, you'll be accustomed to, okay, this is how the team is. I'd say around that. The first initial, okay, what do we have here, is about 25 games in. That's your initial, okay, what is this? But then I give you another 20 games from there to maybe make adjustments, to do certain things, to try out different options. So first 25 is your first draft, if you will. Let's pretend we're back at school and your teacher needs the first assignment, your rough draft. The first 25 games is your rough draft. And then, you mix in an outline and then your final paper. Game 48 is when I'll look at it and say, okay, you kind of established what you are going to be for the most part. So when you look at this team, I think that is the perfect way to do it. You're implementing more pick and rolls. You're implementing a lot of screen setting. You're doing a lot more offensively and defensively. So I talked about watching film, right? I saw the breakdown on exactly what they're doing on pick and roll defense. Last year, the pick and roll defense was abysmal. You had guys dropping back, the big men dropping back. When you used a pick as an opposing team, you had a pocket of a wide open mid-range jumper, and teams would constantly just abuse that over and over and over again. That's why you saw so many point guards going off, dropping 52, dropping 46, dropping 58. They would just literally wax the 76ers defense. Well, now the big man is way more involved up on the pick and roll play, so you're not going to have that pocket to be wide open. You have the help defender slid over a bit more, so both of those players, whether it's the screener of the pick and roll or the individual with the ball, you have three guys in the area as the pick is happening. Now, the downfall, and you saw the Celtics beat it a couple times, is that help defender is going to have a guy more open. Brett Brown's, his defensive philosophy was instead of having that help defender over, he would be stuck and glued to that wing player so that individual who's doing the pick and roll can't pass it back to that option. That allows it to be a little bit more wide open. So what the Celtics did to beat it was, and the two people I will use in the example is Jason Tatum as the ball handler and Marcus Smart wide open because Seth Curry helped a little bit too much. They swung the ball over to Marcus Smart. He had a big wide open lane to attack, and they got a nice look. So it's not in defensible, or that might not even be the right way to describe it. What I'm trying to say is it's not like you can't beat Doc Rivers' pick and roll defensive system. You absolutely can. But I like the fact that you're putting more pressure on the two involved. The ball handler now has to make a decision in tighter space. What am I going to do? So that's going to force turnovers. That's going to force chaos. They're going to try and do too much at times. But it is also true that if they find a rhythm on beating it constantly, well, they might have a route to get to the rim. Or, okay, let's say once they make that swing pass over from Tatum to Marcus Smart and he drives, well, if your corner defender then tries to slide into the paint, that's going to allow your three-point specialist to be wide open in the corner as well. So, I'm just looking at the rotations of things. I'm looking at how everyone's swinging defensively. I like this change. I think this change can absolutely work and force a lot of turnovers, which is great. Defense dictates your offense. It's a no-brainer that Doc Rivers has the philosophy of the defense is going to be what we do. And this is a perfect time to bring up something that I talked about on the Sports Bash over this past week. So I was going back and forth with Josh Hennig, who is our producer at 97.3, but he was filling in for Mike Gill, so it was me and him for 4 hours. And he brought up, when we talk about the late game situations, tying in a previous question as well to all this, nonstop. You can draw the arrows, boom, bang, boom, bang, bang. That's the beauty thing here. Is Doc Rivers going to rely on the defense to close out games? And while obviously you want to have a stellar defense that can totally change outcomes late down the stretch, and I think they will do that, you can't rely on defense to be what wins you games. You just can't. In this league, pure offense beats defense. In basketball, you can play elite defense, but guess what? Elite offense is going to beat that. Now, it's harder to play elite offense when you play elite defense, but I'm just saying, when you look at this sport, if you have a team that can operate a good offense, and you're going to have that in postseason play when things matter, when you have guys that can run an offense and score at will and create their own shots, I don't care how tough your defense is, the offense is going to be able to find a way to win. So as a team identity, I can live with having a strong defense that you want to be in the top 3 in the league, no doubt about it. But when you talk about, I want my defense to win us games, that's why I'm always concerned. Because I want to have a guy who you can look at and say, you know why you win games? Yeah, your defense is a part of it, but you win games because you have that guy in clutch moments. You have that star in big moments when the lights are on. When the clock is winding down. When the shot clock is unplugged. Do they have that guy? Is he on the roster right now? Can a trade possibly get that individual on this team? Well, what a segue. Sam Weiss asked this question. Is the future of the Sixers better or worse if we get James Harden? And also, Ryan asked a similar question. How could the Sixers trade for Harden without Simmons and Embiid? So I'll morph the two together. They can't. Pretty simple, though, for the first one. They can't. It's going to take a Ben Simmons. I don't think they're going to get rid of either of them. So at this point, I think it is what it is, but you can't package up Tobias Harris, Mattise, Thybulle'S, Shake Milton, Tyrese Maxey, couple picks for James Harden. It's just not the case. Now, right now, it's so ugly in Houston, they're not even communicating. He's showing up fat. He's showing up thick. He's out of shape. They haven't talked. I mean, it really is super messy that it's clearly bringing down the asking price because you know that there's so much dysfunction, but it seems like the Rockets are calling James Harden's bluff. We don't give a damn what you say. We don't give a damn what you do. Your ass is here. So you better figure it out or you're going to be miserable and you're not going to have a good time. It does seem like Houston's doing that, or maybe James Harden's calling their bluff, but it does seem like even though it's a players' league and these players run the asylum, Houston's got the cards right now. And we'll see how it all shapes up. But I don't think there's any possible way you get him without moving on from these type of stars. That's what gets you a player like James Harden. Top 5 in the league. You don't get James Harden for Mattise, Thybulle'S, and Isaiah Joe and a couple first-rounders. That's just reality. Is the future of the Sixers better or worse if you get Harden? Sam? Depends on how you look at it. Short term, absolutely. It's not even a question. Absolutely. Getting James Harden. Now, the thick pictures and all that, I'm dating back to what he was last season, and I think things have been a complete nightmare in that scenario. But we're going to date this back to who he was last year, what type of player he is, and we've seen, in the short term, you have yourself a team where I mentioned 1 through 5, where can they fall? Now you're talking 1, 2, 3 seed. That's what I think James Harden can do for you if you lose Ben Simmons, move on from Ben Simmons, and acquire him with this current roster of Seth Curry, Joel Embiid. That two-man game between James Harden and Joel Embiid would be lethal. It would be brought to another level. It would be insane, and you'd have your go-to guy. Now, some people might say, and I'm one of them, you're going to lose a lot on defense. How can you operate defensively? I just mentioned how lethal elite offense beats elite defense in this league. That is true. You have defense in other areas where you have a great rim protector. You didn't have that in Houston. Everyone bashes him for his defensive ability and what happened in Houston. Your 5 was Robert Covington. That was your center position. You have Joel Embiid. And Doc Rivers is even mentioning now how when you look at how this team's going to play defense, knowing even in Dwight Howard, you have 2 tall centers that can rim protect and totally block shots. You can be more aggressive defensively. Well, James Harden and losing Ben Simmons, and when you talk about the defensive side of the floor, I still think you have enough based off a team defense to be something awesome. So short term, I think your franchise is in a better spot. Long term, I think you lose a lot. So it just depends on how you value this. I think Ben Simmons is going to be crazy good when he's 27, 28, 29, 30, in more of his prime grown-up years than he is now, because he just has so much to learn and he needs to take another step in his game, and it's happening at a snail's pace, and unfortunately, that's how it's happening. I don't want it to be that way. I'm not thrilled about it, but it's crawling super, super, super slow. 27, 28, 29, 30, grown man's league. Long term, I think Ben puts you in a better position. It's just about the mentality. But I think you would be blowing this up prematurely. I personally couldn't do it. I would not move on from Ben Simmons for James Harden, but he's the type of person that I could accept the Ben Simmons trade for. How many times do we hear, trade Ben, he sucks, I don't care who, get anyone, just get a point guard that can shoot from the outside. Well, that's silly, that's nonsense, that's irrational. This is different, though. This is a rational trade. Just depends on what type of mentality you want to go with. You could argue James Harden's top 5. Will Ben Simmons ever be top 5? I think it's possible. Does he need to be top 5, though, to win? Not necessarily. It depends on who's surrounding him. It depends who the coach is, what the team is, who they sign in the offseason, role players. It's a lot involved. You know what else is involved? Manscaped. Listen up, fellas. 2020 sucked. It's almost a new year, which means new balls with our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men all over the world get rid of the hair on their balls. They have the perfect package 3.0. It starts off with the Lawnmower 3.0, which is waterproof, and a skin-safe trimmer, which will reduce nicks to your 2 best friends. They have the Crop Preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, and moisturizer. The Crop Revive driver ball toner spray. The Shed travel bag, which has a Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs involved as well. A guy with hairy balls is like the year 2020. Don't be that guy. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved that I'm not forced to discuss the Eagles for 7 days a week. Oh, it's so nice. And the Flyers. The Flyers should be incoming soon. But it's so nice. It's so nice. It really is. It's been taking a toll on me. It really is. You know, it's hard to imagine a sports team and a franchise doing so poorly that it weighs you down to this lethal level. But that's exactly what has happened. And I am just appreciating every single moment of looking into this camera, speaking into this microphone, wearing this 76er shirt, and discussing hoops. Discussing Tyrese Maxey's handles. Discussing Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Doc Rivers. It's a crazy world we live in, isn't it? Any more questions? There were so many. I had to pick and choose the ones that stood out to me, but let's see if there's maybe one more that I can throw out here. Okay, this is from God Usop. And I apologize if I am mispronouncing these. Do you see Ben taking that next step to top 5 point guard this year? All of this rides on him getting a simple 18-foot jump shot, not even a three-pointer. No, I don't think that Ben Simmons is going to be a top 5 point guard this season. I think you're going to have to be aware that you will see the same flaws and the same frustrations. Maybe, just maybe, we see a little bit more of progress. I know I'm not believing in the Sam Cassell story until I see it out on the floor, but apparently he has taken that next step in really working on that aspect of his game with one of the new coaches in Sam Cassell. I want to see it. I did not see it at all in the first game. I saw nothing that showed me a significant jump in shooting the basketball in that first game. It's only one game. I did see something solid at the free throw line that can be monstrous to his points per game and what he averages and how he delivers and acts in late game situations. If he's not afraid to go to the line, he'd be willing to attack instead of seeing that they walled him off and dribbling into the wall off, picking his feet up, and then looking for a pass. Now, I mentioned the film a few times throughout. There was also a lot on Ben Simmons as well. There are sets being ran for Ben Simmons where he's in the post getting the ball, and he's working out of the post. That's just not great offense. It's not the offense that this team should be running. Brett Brown did that at times. Brett Brown tried that as well when he was off the ball in the bubble late last year, working from the elbow, back to the basket. Doc Rivers is now clearly implementing Ben Simmons with post-up play. I get that you have an advantage because he's 6'10", and he's a beast with the ball in his hands. He's your primary point guard. Yes, there's an advantage there to totally utilize. But there's different times and different ways to do it. I saw many moments where it was a simple back to the basket post up, baby hook shot, this and that. No. You're not getting the best looks. You're watching awful takes, bad attempts. But then there's times where he starts backing someone down, quickly faces up, takes a few strides, gets fouled to the rim. That's what I'm talking about. That's where you can use more of the post-up play. Use it to get leverage, bang, face up. Ben Simmons needs to face up. This standard back-to-the-basket post-up play where you're traditionally using that standard post-up play, that's not what Ben Simmons does well. And I don't like that there are sets being called by Doc Rivers to do that. Now, does that mean you're always going to do it? No. I mentioned how your rough draft is early in the year. Maybe he tries it, sees some things he doesn't like, and then he goes in another direction as the head coach when he's drawing up certain sets for this team offensively. Maybe that's what they do. But I saw it a handful of times. I'm out on it. I don't like the standard traditional post-up play. Let him face up. Let him get to where he wants to on the floor because he does a couple back downs. But once he squares, go! Explode! Either make it or go to the free throw line and make it from there. So I had so much fun today breaking down these questions. I can't wait to continue the mailbags. Mailbags are definitely super fun to do, and it's just another element to add, right? I mean, there's so many things we do here to interact and react to the listeners, to everyone who supports me every day throughout this wild journey that I'm on. So, I mentioned the phone calls, anytime hotlines, the text board, the mailbag. I just love it. I really do. There's nothing better than communicating. People slide into the DMs, ask me questions and all that, and I love everything about it. It warms my heart, and it's an awesome time. So, real quick before we head out of here, let's not forget about Orbit Energy and Power. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. They provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, you name it. If you're looking to upgrade your home, check out their information. It's all down below. Orbit Energy and Power. Their website and their phone number is there. Friday night, 6 o'clock, they take on the Indiana Pacers. Is Shake Milton going to follow up that awesome performance with another one? Is Ben Simmons going to explode a bit more? Can Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid all be in attack mode at the same time? That is absolutely 100% on my mind. It always seems to be one guy, this guy, that guy. How about we see what Ben and Joel can do on the floor at the same time in terms of aggressiveness? Tobias Harris. Those are the three guys, right? Those are your three top guys when you look at this roster. I would have loved to see them be on a better page so far. Yeah, I said that. I don't think that that's going out on a limb. I don't think that I'm going too far, even though it's this early. They've been playing together for a little bit of time. They know each other's tendencies. They're not new together. And yeah, they're working on a new system, but I do feel that naturally they can be better than what they have showed in terms of aggressiveness. That's where I look at this and I'm confused the most. It's never together. It's never they're all having that vibe, having that flow. And obviously there's only one basketball. So if someone's going off, you're going to feed them the rock. But you can still be efficient in your limited touches when you aren't constantly scoring and when you're not constantly getting the ball. But let's say Embiid has a 35-point performance, Ben 25, Tobias 23, all efficiently. Yeah, that can totally happen. I don't know if those three are on the same page. And that goes on Doc trying to figure out how to make that happen at a more consistent rate. And it comes to Tobias Harris thinking less, letting the game come to him more. Know what you're going to do with the ball first. That's where it starts with Toby. With Ben, he's going to facilitate. That's what he's going to do. But he's got to look at the downhill attack. That's where he thrives. And it's almost like he shies away from that. He can do that every possession. Against 99.8% of this league. Is there maybe a 0.2% of guys that can shut him down? Sure, maybe. I'll play those odds, though. So there you have it. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.